Alright, so this is a $1,000 gaming PC that delivers way more performance than you would expect for the price. It plays modern games at 1440p smoothly, keeps temperatures under control, and gives you a clean upgrade path without overspending. In this video, I'll show you how the build comes together, why each part was chosen, and the kind of performance you can expect once everything is dialed in. Let's start with the CPU. This build uses the Ryzen 5 9600X, which costs around $195. I chose this processor because it offers some of the strongest single-core performance in its price range, which is exactly what you want for gaming. It's an 8-core chip, so it handles background tasks, recording, and productivity without slowing down. It's efficient, it runs cool, and it gives you modern AM5 support, so you're not locked into an outdated platform. The motherboard comes next. I'm using the Gigabyte B850M Eagle Wi-Fi 6E, priced at $149. This board offers strong VRMs, good memory compatibility, Wi-Fi 6E, and a pre-installed I/O shield, which makes installation cleaner. So we're going to place the motherboard on top of the box, which will give us a stable surface to install components without bending the PCB. Before moving on, we'll install the CPU directly into the motherboard. Lift the socket arm to open the AM5 socket. Line up the small gold triangle on the bottom corner of the Ryzen 5 9600X with the matching triangle on the socket. Gently lower the CPU straight down into place without sliding it. Once it's seated flat, lower the retention arm back down until it locks under the tab. This ensures proper contact with the pins underneath and prepares the board for cooler installation later. Now it's time to install the RAM. I'm using a kit of Team Groom Team Force Vulcan DDR5 at 6000 megatransfers CL30, but the one link below is the Kingston Fury Beast kit because it's currently a lot cheaper and performs about the same. RAM prices are very expensive right now due to high demand, so this part of the build is costing more than it normally would. This capacity is ideal for modern gaming and multitasking, and 6000 CL30 is the Ryzen sweet spot for stable performance and low latency. Open the DIMM slots fully, line up the notch so the sticks are oriented correctly, and press down firmly until both latches lock into place. For storage, I'm using the T-Force Z44A7Q 1TB NVMe SSD, but the one link below is the Crucial P3 Plus at $67. This drive offers fast read and write speeds, making Windows feel snappy and games load quickly. This motherboard uses a screw-free toolless M.2 installation system, so all you need to do is remove the M.2 heatsink, slide the SSD into the slot at a slight angle, press it down, and then use the toolless latch to keep it secured in place, and then reinstall the heatsink using the toolless latch mechanism. Now we'll prep the case. I'm using the Lian Li A3-mATX for $73. This case has excellent airflow and supports large radiators despite its compact size. Before the motherboard goes in, we need to install the water cooler because mounting a 360mm radiator is much easier when the interior is open and unobstructed. The cooler is the ID Cooling FX360 at $79. It delivers surprisingly strong cooling performance for the price, stays fairly quiet under load, and offers better thermal headroom than most budget AIOs in this range. Before installing it, I first attached the AIO mounting brackets to the motherboard so the pump can mount properly later. Once the brackets were in place, I positioned the radiator at the top of the case, secured it with screws, and mounted the fan so they exhaust air upwards. I also routed the fan and pump cables cleanly toward the rear cable channel so they stay out of the way during motherboard installation. With the cooler mounted, install the motherboard into the case. Carefully lower it in at an angle, aligning it with the standoffs, and then secure it with screws. Once the board is in place, apply a small pea-sized amount of thermal paste to the center of the CPU, then mount the pump onto it. There are only 2 screws for this cooler, so tighten them evenly on each side to ensure proper mounting pressure and good thermal contact. Connect the pump header to CPU fan or AIO pump, and connect the radiator fans to AIO or CPU fan header. Next is the power supply. I'm using the MSI Mag A650BN, which is a reliable budget unit known for stable voltage delivery and quiet operation. This case uses a removable power supply bracket, which makes installation easier in a compact layout. Screw the power supply onto the bracket with the fan facing the correct direction for airflow, then slide the entire bracket assembly into the front of the case and secure it with screws. Cable routing here is tight because of the case layout, and I had to temporarily remove the AIO to give myself enough room to pass the 8-pin CPU cable through the top corner of the case. Once the 8-pin was routed, the 24-pin motherboard cable, SATA cables, and PCIe GPU cable were much easier to manage. Finally, the GPU. This build uses the Intel Arc B580 at $250. This card has become one of the best value options thanks to Intel's major driver improvements, offering strong 1080p and 1440p performance for the price, along with excellent XeSS support and impressive efficiency. Remove the necessary PCIe slot covers, gently align the GPU with the X16 slot, and push it in until it clicks. Secure it in with 2 screws, then connect the PCIe power cable you routed earlier. Make sure the cable has a clean path with no tension so the GPU sits level and stable. Once everything is installed, the build comes together really nicely. Even with RAM prices being higher than normal, the performance you get for around $1,088 is genuinely impressive. So let's move into the benchmarks so you can see how the system performs in real gameplay. All tests were done at 1440p to keep results consistent and to show what the build can actually handle. Starting with Fortnite using performance mode with epic draw distance, epic textures, and high meshes, the system averaged 331.7 FPS. Gameplay felt extremely smooth, even during fast edits and heavy build fights. The GPU hovered around 60 degrees, while the CPU stayed around 59 degrees, showing that the cooling setup has no trouble keeping temperatures under control. In CS2 on the very high preset, the system averaged 147.6 FPS. Both the CPU and GPU sat around 58 degrees during gameplay. CS2 relies heavily on CPU performance, and the Ryzen 5 9600X handled it easily, while the Arc B580 kept frame pacing stable. Marvel Rivals is a more demanding title, and on the medium preset without XeSS, it averaged 55 FPS with the GPU at 59 degrees and the CPU at 66 degrees. This is pretty much the baseline experience. Once XeSS balance was enabled, performance jumped to 89 FPS and the game felt significantly smoother. Turning on frame generation pushed the average to 150 FPS while keeping GPU temps at 59 degrees and lowering the CPU to 55. This just shows how much Intel's XeSS and frame generation improved the overall experience. Forza Horizon 5 on the Ultra preset averaged 104 FPS. The gameplay was fluid during high-speed driving, dense scenery, and large crowds. The GPU stayed at 58 degrees Celsius and the CPU at 56, which are excellent thermals for such a demanding open world title. Finally, Starfield on medium with XeSS balance averaged 95 FPS. This is impressive given how heavy Starfield is on both the CPU and GPU. The GPU remained at 58 degrees Celsius and the CPU stayed around 53. The combination of XeSS and the efficient cooling setup kept performance consistent without major dips. Now let's take a look at some synthetic benchmarks as well, which will help show the system's raw performance outside of gaming. In Cinebench, the Ryzen 5 9600X scored 933 points in the multi-core test and 133 points in the single-core test. These results highlight its strong single-core speed for gaming and solid multi-core capability for productivity tasks like rendering, encoding, and multitasking. In the Superposition 8K optimized benchmark, the system scored 4065. This test is extremely demanding and pushes GPUs harder than most real-world games. Scoring above 4000 shows that the Intel Arc B580 can handle heavy graphical workloads, complex scenes, and high-resolution rendering without falling apart. So now let's go over some upgrade recommendations in more detail. The first upgrade path is storage. Moving to a Gen 5 SSD gives you significantly higher read and write speeds, which is helpful if you work with large files, record gameplay, or transfer big projects. While Gen 5 doesn't really change gaming performance, it does speed up workflow tasks and future-proof your system as prices continue to drop. The next and most impactful upgrade is the GPU. Swapping the Intel Arc B580 for an RX 9060 XT 16GB would give you a massive jump in performance. This upgrade pushes the system into high-end 1440p territory and even makes 4K gaming realistic in many titles. You get more VRAM, higher raw performance, and better longevity for future AAA games. Cooling is another optional upgrade. While the FX 360 AIO performs well, you don't actually need a water cooler for this CPU. Switching to a high-quality air cooler can save money, reduce noise, and eliminate pump failure risk. Air coolers also tend to last longer, which makes them a safer long-term choice. Finally, you could swap the CPU to a Ryzen 5 7600X if you want to lower costs slightly, but since the price difference is usually under $20, the 9600X gives you more performance and a better upgrade path. It simply offers stronger long-term value for a very small increase in price. Overall, this $1,000 gaming PC is efficient, powerful, and extremely upgrade-friendly. It handles 1440p gaming easily, stays cool, and leaves room to grow. If you want a build that performs well today and has a clear upgrade path for the future, this is a great place to start.